This is a discussion for physiology on the functions of the posterior neurohypophysis of the pituitary, the posterior pituitary. The posterior pituitary is composed of nerves and nerve endings that come from the paraventricular and supraoptic nuclei of the dorsal hypothalamus. So the dorsal hypothalamus basically send down these neurons, and they have nerve endings here in the neurohypophysis, and they release antidiuretic hormone and oxytocin. The way that this works is there are osmoreceptors up in the brain connected to the paraventricular and supraoptic nuclei in the dorsal hypothalamus, and these osmoreceptors respond to increased or decreased osmotic pressure, essentially detecting dehydration. So if you become dehydrated, then there's a positive signal sent to these osmotic receptors, or through these osmotic receptors to the osmoreceptors, which causes the release of antidiuretic hormone through the paraventricular and supraoptic nuclei, which then cause the release of the antidiuretic hormone from the neurohypophysis. Antidiuretic hormone, when it goes into the bloodstream, causes the glomerular cells to contract, which reduces filtration of the kidney. It also opens the kidney pores to retain more water, and it also generally constricts the arteries and arterioles. It also has some effects in the central nervous system. I don't understand exactly what this is supposed to mean, but it mentioned an increase in marital bond as well as gender-based analgesia, which is like pain suppression, as well as some receptors affecting aggression and blood pressure. So, yeah. On the other side, actually talking about there's another source of antidiuretic hormone as well in the body, and that is connected to the atria of the heart. Inside the atria of the heart, there are baroreceptors, and these baroreceptors respond only to a very large drop in blood pressure. If a person were to lose 15 to 20% of their blood pressure, that's going to increase the antidiuretic hormone release by 50 to 100 times. And that's just something to note. Also, the oxytocin that's released from the neurohypophysis causes uterus contraction as well as breast contraction to release the milk and also to release the baby. Also, it has effects in the central nervous system that bind to receptors that increase trust, empathy, eye contact, decrease social distance. Those receptors are in the amygdala. Lastly, also it's important to note that the supraoptic nuclei in the dorsal hypothalamus is dorsal or posterior behind the suprachiasmatic nucleus, as well as dorsal to the optic nerve, and you can see the paraventricular is up here above and the supraoptic is below in the dorsal hypothalamus.